What's up, people? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, we are just going to be talking about what Nick's Strength Powers has to say, as we usually do. He made a video that I think is pretty interesting, talking about how underrated or overrated Sam Sulek is going to be in the Arnold Classic lineup. So let's check that video out, see how we feel about it. First of all, love the new logo. I love that it doesn't start immediately by blowing my freaking ears out like the old one did. Looks clean, looks cool. Good job, Nick.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, Sam Sulek. His last 2 days of updates, so yesterday and today, 23 and 24 days out from the Arnold Classic Ohio, he looks extremely impressive. And I'm honestly kind of wondering at this point if he's going to maybe even outperform some of the expectations that people have for him. I'd say I'm pretty positive on Sam Sulek. I'm very impressed by what he's doing. I mean, again, keeping in mind,
his legs are insane. And once he can get good consistency with making those adductors pop, especially in his front pose, that's going to skyrocket him.
This is his pro debut and his third ever show, period, including the amateur shows. Also taking into consideration he's coaching himself, this is a very, very impressive look. Now, we know that, I think it was at 5 weeks out, where Sam said he was already at the weight limit, or under the weight limit. He was 226. His weight limit's going to be 227, so he had plenty of time to spare. He's ahead of schedule. He also talks about in both of his recent videos the fact that he's very, very flat here.
He's also very impressively dry. That's another big thing about this is a lot of people think of drying out as like the last week before the show. And you definitely do put an emphasis on drying out there and trying to get that last little bit, and you really push. But you should be working at a way where you're relieving stress, you're trying to sleep well and everything, to the point where you're trying to reduce that water retention and wind up dry early, like Sam is. Sam here is extremely dry already. So when it comes to trying to dry out for the show, he may not even do anything extra.
And what I thought was impressive is he said he aims to be, or expects to be, 10 to 15 pounds heavier than where he's at right now, and assuming he's still kind of right on that weight limit line, 226, 227, even if you say between 226 and 230, let's just say he weighs in at 2.
See right there, that was a perfect example. He made the quads and the feathering look really good, but the inside of the thigh completely went away. He hits that same pose, a little flex in the knee and a little flex at the hips, pushing the butt back over his heels. Whole different pose.
27, eats a lot of food, carbs up, 15 pounds added on top of that is over 240 pounds on stage. 242 to be exact. That is a big, muscular classic physique guy. And it looks like Sam is going to be in shape. I mean, the update from yesterday is what I was going to talk about today. Then we saw the other update that he posted today. And the update from yesterday is him showing his lower body. He's already got striated glutes, very, very detailed legs. Again, I said this, the last time we talked about one of his leg updates. I think this is the best Sam's legs have ever looked from a detail standpoint.
Definitely agree with that. Also want to say one thing about the hamstrings, really good development back there and separation between the different bodies. But just like I was saying, you can see it's dry and it's sucked in around the hamstring, so you can see the separation. That last little bit of drying out, that last bit of subcutaneous water, that's what's going to make the difference between you kind of seeing the hamstrings on the surface and then the skin pulling in between them as he dries out completely.
I think they clearly look bigger than when he was an amateur. And even though I wouldn't say that size-wise they're on par with some of the top guys in this lineup like Mike Sommerfeld, although you maybe could say that size-wise they're on par with a guy like Matthias Menengate, detail-wise he's pretty on par with a lot of these guys that are seasoned professionals. I mean, I think it's really impressive what Sam is doing here, the condition that he's in, the size that he has. I think it's going to carry him a long way here, and I've been predicting I think that 7th place would be a good.
Yeah, I think 7th or 8th is probably about where he's going to wind up. I think maybe even as high as 5 if he has a really good day and a couple people don't. But that's insanely impressive for a pro debut, especially at a show like the Arnold Classic. I will say I agree. This is not like an Olympia physique. This is not someone who like is going to have the legs to hang with necessarily Mike or the top guys in the show. But really, really impressive. He's really showing why he deserved and earned that pro card. And I do think he's going to find himself a deserving spot in the pro ranks this rookie year. And that's only potential to move up because he is so young, too.
Strong showing from him. I think that's a good, reasonable prediction. It's not too high. It's not too low. It doesn't have him beating some of these top guys that are seasoned and have won multiple shows, but it also has him not placing dead last. I think 7th would be a really strong placing for Sam. But if I'm being honest, I'm looking at some of these recent updates, and I wouldn't be surprised if he outperforms even that, which I think 7th is a very optimistic projection for somebody that's making their pro debut at the second biggest show in bodybuilding. I think 7th is a fair, reasonable prediction. And I certainly think that it's something achievable for Sam.
I would agree with that. Again, like I said, I could see him as high as maybe 5th. But to be honest with you, given the lineup, I really would be surprised to see him outside the top 10 because of the size and conditioning that he's bringing. There are a lot of guys with better shape than him, but he's pretty up there on the size, and he's definitely going to bring the conditioning.
Look at these updates. I almost wonder if that's too low of a prediction. If he could outperform even that, which again I think is optimistic, and maybe be 5th or 6th. I believe 5th place in Classic Physique is the same as bodybuilding. That's also considered podium in the prize money. You get a medal at the final ceremony. If Sam's able to place top 5 and he's in the money, I think that's absolute best case scenario for him. I think that's
absolute best case scenario, and I think that would be huge for him. I think that would be great for solidifying his brand and great for showing truly that he has arrived on the bodybuilding scene and is not just an influencer.
Huge win for him if he's able to do that at his pro debut. I still don't think he's going to be top 3. I don't think he's going to win the show because I think he's got two things working very strongly to his advantage. He's going to be big. He's going to have size on these guys. He's going to have stage presence. He's going to be taller than a lot of these guys. He's going to be heavier than a lot of these guys. And from what we've seen in terms of his condition, he's going to be big and in a really, really competitive condition. The only thing that I think he lacks a bit is some of the extremely genetically gifted classic physique shapes that you see in this lineup, like Menengate, like Mike Sommerfeld, like Andrea Mamoli. Sam's waist isn't as small as these guys. He's not as aesthetically pleasing. And I still think that he is aesthetically pleasing. I know a lot of people have made the argument he should switch to open bodybuilding. I don't necessarily agree with that yet. I think we shouldn't put the cart before the horse here, and we should wait and see how he does at his pro debut in Classic Physique before we jump the gun and start saying he should go to open. He's too big for Classic. I think that Sam, with this type of size in this type of condition, has good enough shape to win Classic Physique shows. Maybe not the Arnold or the Olympia at this stage, but I think if the legs match up better size-wise to the upper body, again, we haven't seen a full posing video of him matching up the legs with the upper body because, again, in the video that we got from him today, the upper body looks incredible. Full, grainy, detailed condition. And that was the thing that impressed me so much is, impresses Sam, too, if you listen to him in his videos. The fact that he's flat here and still looks full, it's impressive. But I do think that Sam has good enough shape to probably win Classic Physique Pro shows that are maybe smaller scale, less competitive than the Arnold. And I'm starting to think that as good as he's looking, maybe with his size and condition, he could maybe do a little bit better than 7th. I think that's possible. I think I'll probably still stick with 7th for my prediction for Sam. But I'm not going to be surprised if he winds up placing higher than that, which I think would be a massive win. I want to make sure that Sam gets proper credit for what he's doing here, and people can say I'm, a Sam Sulek glazer if they want. But I think that Sam gets a lot of disrespect because of the fact he's an influencer, because of where he comes from. I think there's a lot of negativity directed at Sam. But I think the fact that Sam doesn't need to compete. He doesn't need the IFBB. He doesn't need the Arnold Classic. Sam will continue to be Sam and extremely successful and make a ton of money whether he ever competes in the IFBB or not. That pro card to him, at least financially, I don't think it moves the needle for Sam Sulek at all. So the fact that he doesn't have to compete, he doesn't need the prize money, he doesn't need the stress. He can make tons of money just doing what he's doing. But the fact that he is competing, coaching himself, and doing as good as he's doing, looking as good as he is, I think it's to be commended because he doesn't have to do this at all. And again, I think because he's an influencer, so many people like to say, well, he's not a real bodybuilder. If he places well, it's only going to be because of his name and who he is and because he has a lot of followers. And I'm sure that
you can say that in the NPC. Once it gets to the IFBB, it's a lot tougher to say that because you see examples of guys losing all the time who have more followers. If it was based on followers and everything, then Ramon probably would have won second place last year or the year before instead of dropping, if it was really just based on followers.
Sam knows that by competing, that's part of what's going to come with it. Just a bunch of negativity regardless of how he places. And really, frankly, probably regardless of how he looks. The people that seem to just hate Sam no matter what, I don't think it even matters how Sam looks at the Arnold. If he looks fantastic, there's still going to be people saying he looks like shit and doesn't belong up there. And if he places well, I still think there's going to be people that say it's only because he's Sam Sulek. So I'm looking at these updates, and that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing somebody that objectively, if you remove the name Sam Sulek, and you again consider this is their pro debut, this is only their third show ever, this is objectively very impressive the way that he's looking. I was looking at one of the updates from Matthias Menengate yesterday showing his...
And there it is. You got to separate the name from what you're actually getting. You got to separate the thought that this is Sam Sulek from the fact that this is a really quality competitor making his pro debut in a very competitive lineup at a very competitive show. So I think the fact that he's looking as good as he does and that the prediction for him to do as well as he is potentially going to is huge for him, even just in the discussion. And the type of people, again, as I said, that are hating on him simply for being from the social media, the type of people who aren't at the Arnold Classic anyways, the type of people who are probably past the point of getting to the Arnold Classic, if you know what I'm saying, and never did beforehand. So keep going on him. Really proud of him for crushing it and keeping moving. Not that he knows me or I know him or anything. It's just really awesome to see people sticking to their dreams and going for it and being able to do more than one thing, being able to be more than just the fitness guy, more than just the bodybuilding guy. So shout out to Sam. I'm rooting for you. Thank you, Nick, for another awesome video for me to leech off of. I'll see you guys next time.